This disturbing video, posted by Darkcha on TikTok, begins in a narrow, dimly lit apartment hallway where the atmosphere feels unusually thick. The creator was alone, moving through his home while documenting a series of unsettling events that had been escalating throughout the night. Nothing about the wooden floors or the simple layout suggested a presence was lurking nearby. He had been recording for several minutes, hoping for silence. And then the shadows at the far end of that corridor shifted in a way that defied logic.
J'en ai marre, j'en ai marre, j'en ai marre. Ouais, ok. Alors le choupi, il est tout en haut de l'étagère là-bas. Et il ne marche plus. Voilà. Classique. Regarde, il est à 0. Il ne marchait plus. Tout le monde est super, j'ai peur. Tais-toi. Tais-toi. J'ai entendu. Je suis pas folle. J'ai entendu.
The footage captures a dark mass standing at the end of the hallway before the attention turns to a toy that speaks despite being switched off. The situation escalates when a distinct voice whispers "Hola" from inside the empty bathroom. Believers argue the interaction between the physical shadow and the electronic manipulation proves a high-energy haunting. Skeptics suggest that hidden speakers or digital overlays could easily synchronize the audio to create a terrifying effect. The reflective close lands on the toy, continuing to speak even after the batteries are shown to be long dead, a detail that makes the high-pitched voice feel like a deliberate mockery. Hearing a greeting from an empty room is the kind of sound that makes you realize your locks are useless.
Tais-toi. Tais-toi.
Moving forward, Tej, a TikTok creator known for her collection of vintage dolls, was recording a typical video in her bedroom. The walls were lined with rows of glass eyes, each doll perched in its designated spot, creating a scene that felt both crowded and eerily still. She often interacts with her community, sharing the history associated with her artifacts. That evening, everything seemed perfectly routine as she adjusted her camera for her live stream. And then, the silence in that room was no longer empty.
There's nothing out there. Even the cats are confused. We have had scratching on the wall before. We've had scratching on the wall before. That's, unless she does it too, but that's always my wall scratching. I have wall scratching a lot. This is like a regular thing in my house. Usually Deanna, but I don't know why. Done.
The recording captures a persistent, rhythmic scratching sound coming from the wall directly behind Tej. She freezes immediately, her attention drawn to the area where her doll, Deanna, is displayed. Even her cats appear visibly disturbed, staring at the empty hallway and showing signs of deep confusion. Believers argue the sound's metallic quality and the animal's reactions suggest a physical intruder attempting to manifest through the structure itself. Skeptics suggest the audio could be a pre-recorded loop or sounds coming from within the wall's pipes. The reflection settles on the scratching continuing, even as Tej moves away, a detail that suggests the source is not bound by her presence. Living in a house where the walls seem to have their own intentions is a weight few could carry. This next terrifying clip arrives with a deep sense of hesitation that only comes from spending a night in a house that feels awake. Chris uploaded this to YouTube after being told the location was plagued by shadows, a claim he initially dismissed before the sounds in the walls made sleep impossible. As he moves through the shadows of the basement, the air feels heavy with history. He was looking for proof, and then the very air in that basement felt like it was closing in.
Yeah, man, I'm recording this video because I need you guys to be my witness. These people told me that this place was haunted, and I was like, no, it's not. It's not haunted. There ain't no such thing. And my dumb asses, I've been hearing shit all night. Man, I'm scared out of my mind. Last time I seen the little girl, she was over there behind that little dollhouse, man. You guys gotta come with me and check this shit out. I'm scared as shit. You guys gotta be my witnesses. Scared out of my mind. Man. Shit. There's nothing back there. Fucking A, man. I don't know why I agreed to do this shit. Creepy ass doll. Look at that shit. Weird ass people. Dude, I'm scared as hell, man. I'm scared as shit. Holy.
The footage reveals a horrifying entity with long, dark hair suddenly appearing in the exact spot where Chris had been standing moments before. The figure is obscured by the darkness, yet its presence is undeniable as it seems to watch him from the periphery. Believers point to the location's history of sightings as a reason for such a direct manifestation. Skeptics argue that the low light and shaky camera provide the perfect cover for a simple person in costume or a digital overlay. The close lands on the sudden realization that the intruder was waiting for him to lower his guard. Looking back and seeing a face where you just were is a violation of the safe space we all assume we have.
Scared as hell, man. Scared as shit. Holy.
The next piece of footage takes us to a bedroom scene that opens on a peaceful, routine bedtime environment. A toddler is visible on a standard video monitor, settled safely into a custom car-themed bed. The room appears remarkably quiet and mundane. He has been sleeping undisturbed for a significant amount of time. Routine stillness surrounds him in what should be the safest place in the house. This video captures a real ghost in the most vulnerable setting imaginable, and then the peaceful atmosphere in that room completely broke. This footage shows the child suddenly struggling in his bed, repeatedly being forced back down as if pushed by an invisible weight whenever he attempts to rise. The struggle is physical and appears remarkably heavy against his small frame. Believers argue the physics of how the toddler is flattened is completely unnatural, pointing to the absence of any visible hand applying pressure. Skeptics manage to point toward complex pranks using clear fishing lines, an effect that would require a level of synchronization and cruelty few parents would ever consider. The reflective close lands on the resistance of the child, which feels like a physical struggle against an unseen force. Seeing your child pinned by something you can't even see would change the way you sleep for the rest of your life. What follows is a recording uploaded to YouTube by Johnsy, showing a perspective duel of a home that was thought to be quiet. The screen divided shows the kitchen and the foot of the stairs, each capturing a white door in the silence of the evening. The domestic environment was ordinary, with no signs of mechanical movement or drafts. The owner had set these cameras hoping to document previous paranormal activity. Everything about the house felt exactly as it should, and then the very air in that hallway changed in an instant. What we see is a violent, rhythmic pounding against the door that seems to come from the other side, causing the entire frame to rattle. The force is significant enough that the wood visibly bows under the pressure. Believers point to Jonesy's split-screen setup as proof that no one was hiding behind the door to manually shake it. Skeptics argue that a simple fishing line or a hidden mechanical device could easily trigger the latch from the inside, especially given the fixed camera positions, which means whoever planned this knew exactly where the lens would be focused. This unexplained footage ends with the door standing wide open to an empty room. Having your own front door vibrate with that kind of localized, aggressive energy would make any hallway feel like a trap. Moving on to a scene posted on TikTok by Travel with F, which captures a group of friends monitoring their own property through a handheld screen. The security feed displays a dark, multi-level structure under the harsh glow of night vision. Everything about the property seemed secure, with the perimeter appearing clear of any movement or intruders. They were casually scrolling through different camera angles, checking the usual blind spots. The night air was perfectly still. And then, something caught the light on the second floor.
Nggak ada ya, aman ya. Di sini aman, oke? Kita coba lihat ke atas sebelum atas sebelah sananya. Atas mana? Atas tengah ini.
Bebas. Terserah kalian guys, mau pilih
yang mana? Tuh, kan nggak ada.
Udah bro, stiker ya.
Ntar kita zoom.
Stiker itu.
Ini stiker atau apa sih? Ini mah manusia.
Stiker matamu.
Manusia jurik. Susulin jangan.
The surveillance footage reveals a dark, humanoid watcher standing on the upper balcony, staring directly into the camera lens with unnerving precision. It remains frozen as the observers zoom in, questioning if the shape is merely a sticker or a trick of the frame. Believers point to the figure's sudden, fluid movement at the end as proof that it was aware of being watched. Skeptics suggest the entire scene is a staged interaction or a digital overlay designed for engagement. The reflective close implies the watcher was waiting for the lens to find it, a detail that makes the group's panic feel entirely earned. There is no comfort in a screen when the intruder knows exactly where the lens is hidden. From there, we look at this clip posted on Instagram by Pendaki Gunung, where a group of hikers is seen navigating a dense forest in Indonesia during the deep hours of the night. The atmosphere is thick with humidity and the low hum of distant insects, with only their headlamps cutting through the oppressive darkness. They were following a strict set of rules for the trail, moving in a tight line. Everything about the trek seemed routine, and then the silence of the mountain suddenly broke. The camera captures a tall, pale form draped in white, remaining perfectly motionless among the trees as the group passes. It does not match any natural forest structure. Believers argue the figure's lack of movement makes any prank attempt difficult, suggesting something genuinely supernatural was caught on camera. Skeptics point to how conveniently the object is placed just off-trail, making it the perfect spot for a simple prop. The reflective close lands on a stillness that feels more predatory than accidental, which suggests the figure was not merely standing, but waiting. Walking past a shape like that would make every snap of a twig behind you feel like a hand reaching out. What we see next, posted on TikTok by Shambles Market, comes from the historic streets of York, where the cobblestones seem to hold more than just memories. A security camera captures a deserted alley in the middle of the night, a space that should have been completely still. The environment was peaceful, with the old timber frames of the buildings casting long, unmoving shadows across the path. No one was expected to be out at this hour. And then, the air in that alleyway changed. The surveillance footage captures a bicycle parked against a wall that suddenly detaches and rolls several feet into the center of the path before collapsing. There is no visible person or rope that could account for the momentum. Believers argue the steady nature of the roll suggests an invisible hand was directing the bike. Skeptics suggest that an uneven cobblestone combined with the wind could have triggered the balance shift. The reflective close lands on a path that suggests the bike was being led by an invisible hand. Feeling an invisible presence pass you on a deserted street is a sensation that stays with you. The material that follows leads us into the decaying corridors of an abandoned prison. The explorers were moving through a block where the air felt notably colder than the rest of the facility. Each cell door stood as a rusted sentinel of the past, seemingly frozen in time. They had been walking for several minutes, documenting the peeling paint and heavy iron bars. Nothing about the structure suggested any recent mechanical movement. And then, the silence of the cell block was suddenly ruptured.
What the? That's some creepy ass shit. Hold on, I want to see this shit. Ain't none of them. I am.
What we see is a heavy, rusted cell door swinging wide open without any visible human intervention. The movement is smooth and deliberate, defying the friction you would expect from decades-old iron. Believers argue that the weight of these doors makes it impossible for a draft or minor vibration to trigger a swing. Skeptics suggest that a slight slant in the concrete floor could explain the motion. The reflective close lands on a motion that suggests the door was opened with a specific destination in mind. Stepping into a cage that opens for you is the kind of mistake that feels permanent before the door even shuts behind you.
That's some creepy ass shit.
This next recording, shared by Witty on YouTube, begins with a sense of calm as he sits near a concrete ledge overlooking a dark expanse. The surrounding trees are still, and the only light comes from a distant source, casting long shadows across the structure. Everything about the moment felt like a peaceful break from the routine trek. No one was expected to be in the open air at this hour. And then, the weight of the night in that space shifted. The recording reveals a translucent manifestation floating high above the bridge, its shape barely defined against the sky. It remains suspended, seemingly watching the person below with a detached and chilling focus. Believers argue the way the entity interacts with the light proves it is a physical, non-human presence. Skeptics suggest the image is likely a lens flare or a reflection captured on the sensor. The reflective close lands on a stillness that makes the open air feel like it is occupied by something unseen. Seeing a shape suspended in the void would make you question exactly what is looking down when you think you're alone. From the entity watching Chris in that dark basement, to the invisible weight pinning a toddler in his bed, and the pale figure waiting for hikers in the Indonesian forest. This scary footage proves that nowhere is truly safe. Subscribe so you never miss an upload, and if you think what you just saw was unsettling, wait until you see what's on your screen right now.